Hey everybody, welcome back to Karandrin Role Playing. My name is Kevin Manus Pinnings, also known as Cracked Palantir, and I'll be your host and game master for this episode 118 of Brise's Tale. And as always, my good buddy Max is here to play Brise the Paladin. Max, say hello to the lovely people.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're staying warm on this frosty night. Welcome to episode, I think you said, and I forgot, episode
118.
118. Yeah.
That's right. We have generated some content. So
AI generated Karandrin. Well, we have enough episodes, honestly, AI generated. Do you think? Feed it into like an just spit out episode after episode.
We did use ChatGPT months ago.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
To do a summary, to watch one of our videos and do a summary of it. And it was funny what it got right and what it got wrong, but that was an earlier version of ChatGPT. So I'd be curious to see if the improved version, how it would fare.
I would say we could get that up and then retire, but we're not making any money currently. Okay. So to change that, you should all go to donorbox.org.
That's right. Hop the donor box. Send us some love. We greatly appreciate it. Here we are at episode 118. It promises to be at least an information-filled one. And tell us why that is, Max. Tell us what's going on.
Brise herself at an enormous gathering of otherworldly beings who are all waiting to see the passage of a goddess known as Brise, which is this apparently this creator of all things and all worlds, and it is said to pass through certain worlds at certain times that could be more or less predicted, and so these this one race of species who I had encountered a couple times before, I think they had a name for them.
The Awan?
The Awan, yes, thank you. They are kind of like facilitators of this whole gathering, and they have pinpointed the location in this deeply forested valley, and have set up all of these stands for viewing, are continuously building stands for viewing. They have tents. They must have food and some form of lodging as well. That we're kind of in the middle of exploring right now. And so we've already had a lot of fascinating conversations with folk from other worlds that I've never even heard of before. So, we're going to continue right off where that is. I believe Brise just kind of found a little spot away from the majority of the crowd and kind of laid out my gear. Brise could appear tomorrow or the day after, or even 2 days after that. They know kind of in that window she'll appear. So the next couple of days, we're chilling out here at this essentially this convention.
Yeah, it's this religion that essentially the order of clerics travel from world to world, hoping that their god will make an appearance. And they really do believe it creates that their goddess is responsible for all creation, they're evangelistic, which means that they seek other followers. They go out actively, and they don't exactly seek to convert. They just assume you will, sort of, right? Like it's just going to happen.
They're evangelistic. So what you're saying is I've just walked into the biggest Trump rally of all.
That's it. There's a little bit of truth to that. There's some similarity there. So the Awan are a very unusual species, 7 to 8 feet high, and they use various rituals and magics to determine the exact arrival place and time of Brise, their goddess. And when they are fairly certain of it, then they set up a they set up basically a massive stadium so that as many people can come from other worlds to witness it. They're always shocked when people haven't heard about Obreve and so on. And so you were invited, and you're able to free yourself from other obligations and make your way here. And you find yourself among just a host of other races from other worlds. And just to name a few, of course, we have the Awan, which are sort of in charge of the event. They are 7 to 8 feet high. They have these enormous gray, sort of bulbous, almost bubbling heads, filled with teeth. When their mouth does appear, their eyes are sort of hidden until they roll up out of this soft gray material. They have 7 fingers, and they have thus far, despite their just really otherworldly appearance, been very kind and accepting. There's this 8 to 9 feet high turtle-like people, but instead of having a single unbroken shell on their back, they have sort of a segmented shell that goes down their length, and then the carapace on the front is also segmented. So they're and sort of they're much more flexible than a turtle. They're telepathic. They do not speak with their mouths, so it seems. They're strong enough to pluck Brise off of a tent roof and set her down gently. We have the Chidara, which is these little 6-inch long lizards that ride around in a floating little carriage, metal carriage, that seats 4 to 6 of them. It hovers in the air connected by a chain to a ball, like a hamster ball. And one of the Chidara is down there running and basically rolling it and pulling the carriage along through the crowds. There's a bright red scorpion folk about 4 foot high. They are called the Fanal. And there are others that we see coming and going. Mm-hmm. So it's all been quite overwhelming. And you last week, you found a spot from which to view and sort of set your bedroll out, because the wait could be a handful of days. Mm-hmm. 4 days is what your turtle friend suggested was the longest it could be. And so there are food vendors here. There are, the tents we mentioned, just all number of vendors, people selling tents and no doubt sleepwear, lighting, things like that. It's like a music festival or some other sort of really large temporary event. What time of day is it? Did you remind me?
Let's see. I woke up at dawn, then teleported out here to the front of the Temple of the Iron Empress. So, really, it's probably just a little after dawn, because I just teleported again, and then we ended up kind of here.
So early morning.
In the middle of the gathering, yeah.
All right. Oops, sorry. Hovered over something, and it's throwing up a window. The comings and goings are as busy as looking down on the largest marketplace you can think of. The stands are filling up. Mm-hmm. There is a very large presence of the A1 who are taking stands. Pink and white seems to be a very common theme among garb. There are flags, little flags to wave. There are hats and streamers with pink and white in them. And those seem to be, obviously some sort of color related to Obreve. People largely just pass you by and ignore you. There do seem to be vendors on foot. with backpacks filled with items or sacks around their waist. Some have hand carts and are going through the assembled. We talked last time about there being roads, having makeshift roads going through. Wagons are passing through there as vendors are restocking tents, as they're setting up tents. There are trees going down in the distance. You can see as they're making room for more and more stands.
Okay. Well, Brise would be curious to look for any maybe if there's like a small gathering, like something like an inn, like you'd visit a common room, right, and share drinks and like stories. There's anything that looks like that,
Social.
Sorry,
a social, some sort
social, yeah,
some sort of social sense of things where you've got
just
people
because
standing around.
I don't want to go around stopping everybody and be like, "What are you doing? What's going on here?" Yeah, so we'll there's something like that. That's on the quieter side.
There are groups of there's groups of Awan standing around with large horns of beverage relatively near you. There's several of them. They are dressed not in the gowns that are the robes that you're used to for Galkakek's people and Galkakek himself.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe these are not related to the order, right? The order of clerics that arrange these things.
Right.
Maybe they are in a, to use a term inappropriately, sort of civilians, if you will, or I guess the word is secular.
Right.
They're secular followers. These allergies are killing me today. Sorry. There are other races that are standing among them, so you feel like you wouldn't be, pushed away or whatever.
Yeah, wouldn't stand out. Yeah.
If you want to approach, what do you take with you?
That's a good question because I don't know if I want to leave all my stuff out in the open. Am I kind of out in the open where I laid out my bedroll, or is there?
Yeah, because you're trying to get a vantage point. So
yeah,
so you found a place that was relatively clear. You cleared it full. Cleared it from rocks and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could leave my stuff here and leave Nalani here to kind of watch it. I can kind of tell Nalani a command, right? Like just guard my things.
Right.
So pretty much leave all my weapons down except just a dagger, at the belt, my piercing dagger, and just I think walk over just unarmed and but still in my armor.
Okay.
I mean, I guess also you said they were holding like drinking horns, right? No one else is like holding anything specific, right? That's just kind of
you see that there are sort of kebabs that the Fanal, the bright red scorpion folk.
Yeah.
Their garb typically seems to be very, very like a very metallic, shiny silk is how you would describe it. Like it's really beautiful.
Okay.
It's not anything you've seen before. I mean, to have that kind of metallic shine to it, unlike anything you've seen, you would make quite a impression on the social circles of this world to have some of that. They have kebabs that they're eating, pulling off with their mandibles. Their tails are more like I don't know if you know what a whip scorpion is.
No.
They don't have whip scorpions. Don't have stingers. They actually have a lash.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
And so that's sort of what these guys have. They seem to be prehensile. Some have been decorated with like little pennants that hang from it.
Oh, cool.
And ribbons of pink and white that are tied among them, which is sort of an odd, it's like, here's a decorated scorpion. Well, that feels weird,
Yeah.
They're about 4 foot high, so a little shorter than most of your.
I'm just gonna stand away from their tails,
Right.
Know about real world scorpions.
That's right.
Earth scorpions.
Right, Karandrin scorpion. The Fanal, the scorpion people, they seem to have a lot of them in this area seem to have these big necklaces of fist-sized ornamentation that go around, these strung ornaments. And then you realize, no, you see one pluck one off and pierce it and squeeze it, and it's apparently what they drink.
Oh, wow. I'll go ahead.
You want to venture toward them?
Yeah, I'll mosey on over there. They seem like there's a lot going on.
I mean, they open up their little circle just readily, and you're given quite a, looking over by all of them.
Then they immediately like start eating me.
Right.
Just out of nowhere.
One got free from the game pen.
I didn't even think I probably can't even understand what they're talking about.
I
might have to cast tongues.
There's the scorpion. The 2 or 3 scorpions that are in this group, they clearly address you, and it's like the little lizard people, the Chidari. These also make a high whistling sound. It goes up and down, and they wait for a reply. And the A1 sort of look to you for an answer, and one nudges another. This gentleman takes out sort of a rod with this really bulbous thing, and he sticks it in the ground. He hammers it quite heavily with his fist, and you feel the ground shake. These guys are fairly strong. And then he kind of gives the little bulbous end kind of like a little tickle, and it opens up, and there is a mouth there, sort of a dull purple, very wet, and he turns to the scorpion and says, "This ready, say it again." But again, in that garbled, like talking through mud way they have.
Right.
And and there is the whistling, but there is the mouth talking over the whistling.
Okay.
And it says, "You are strange to us and I. Where are you from? What manner are you?"
Mouth translates. What they say. I say I hail from this world. Actually, I'm surprised there are so few of my kind, or I am the only one of my kind here. Where, what world do you come from?
Um, the scorpion, through this mouth staff, says, "Us and I come from Ividos. That is the name of our place world."
Ividos.
What is this place world called?
I forget if it's called Earth or we call it Karandrin. Whatever.
Karandrin is what you call it.
Yeah. I call world is Karandrin. And I ask them about. I hope the environment here is similar, or seems amenable to your kind. I know there are some worlds that are. The air is toxic to other species.
The us and I find it quite comfortable, a little cold perhaps. You might find areas of place world Ividos perhaps too hot.
I like how we started talking about the weather, because what else do you
It's
to
universal.
start a conversation with?
Was it Twain who said, "Everyone talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it"?
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Okay.
So I was reading a Reddit today. It's one of the few that I'll read the whole thing, which is favorite quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And go through, and I was reading, and Twain did not make much of an appearance on there, which is shocking. And H.L. Mencken didn't make much of a appearance on there, which is shocking. And Benjamin Franklin didn't make much of an appearance on there. Sign of the times, I suppose. But if you enjoy good quotes, H.L. Mencken is a delight. He's a lot of fun. So,
I kind of point out their dress as well, and ask about compliment their garb. It's very very unique material. I don't think anything like that exists in Karandrin. Well, damn. Well, it's too late. I was just maybe I can haggle with them for it. Now I've already just said that.
Well, but you can then carry on the conversation.
Yeah.
He or she turns blue and kind of bows its head. One of the A1 say, "You have paid her a great compliment."
Wow.
The Fanal weave this from their own bodies. It is shared among family members, the colors, patches of fabric.
Cool.
But the thread itself is exuded. Another of the A1 says, "Are you here selling goods? Are you here to witness Obrieve? What line are you in?"
I say I'm here to witness Obrieve, but given that there's enough time, I'm also here to learn and just experience, what there is to offer.
Well, there'll be a good deal to offer on the other side of the portals, if you're so interested. They'll be opening and closing for days after Obrieve as we take the stadiums down.
Oh my gosh, okay.
He points with one of those large, clawed hands across the way.
Mm-hmm.
All the purple ones, well, they'll all be purple, but look for the rims. The green rimmed ones go to Ividos. Hmm?
Okay.
No rim go to our place of residence, and that is Odish, where the Awan and the Kexeth and the Chadara live.
Okay.
He points to the far side beyond you guys. I guess that would be, if I'm thinking this correctly, it would be to the west, the western slopes. He says eventually you'll see ones outlined in black. They will not come till late.
Hmm.
But that will be the ocean world of Fazi. Mostly islands. But if you can take a climb such as this, then those three worlds should pose no problem to you.
And did he mentioned the violet rimmed ones? He didn't explain where that goes to though, right?
They're all purple. They're also violet and purple.
Oh, I see. Okay, so he says look for the violet portals and then the rims. Okay.
Yeah, the rims will indicate where you want to go,
Hmm.
or where the portal's coming from. They seem to have it sorted such that places from this, coming from this world are going to be opened here,
Yeah, okay.
so that people on their worlds can coordinate their arrivals.
Yeah.
And have a staging area. And so the one that's certainly been most active is the one from the Awan's world.
Right, Odis. Are geographically grouped. Okay. I ask him I worry that I hope these worlds would be hospitable to my kind.
That's what he's saying. If this climb, this environment.
Oh, I'm sorry. When he said climb, I thought I meant like the climb up the mountain.
No, CLIME.
Climb. Okay.
If you can take, if you can take this, then you should take all three of those.
I say, well, so the portals are opening and closing, right? Is there like a delay, when I could slip through, or do they seem?
Oh, easily. Let the wagons pass, then step through. Okay. Don't try to beat the wagon through. You may get trod upon.
Fun. Okay.
Do your people visit other worlds? Is this new to you?
I guess, how would I describe it? Only a select few of us do travel to other worlds. It's not something. It's not very common, to put it broadly.
You have no window makers here? Those who generate doorways from one world to another?
I say we do. I'm not very well versed in those arts, but I've met some who are.
We have them in the thousands.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. That explains why they're organizing all of this so well. They're probably like naturally proficient at it. Interesting.
He turns to his companion who
I'm sorry. Yeah, actually I go to the world and they're actually just all making windows like manufacturing.
But like when you sit on the ground, they open, you're like, okay, there. No, you like open, it was like Narnia. They all make
Yeah.
wardrobes. They all make
They
wardrobes.
make wardrobes. Oh my gosh.
Stupid mouth staff got the word wrong. Started with a W. They were close.
Hilarious.
So one of the guys turns to his buddy. One of the AWAN turns to his buddy and nudges him and says, "You would do well to start a business here. You could be their first professional window maker." The other A1 literally sort of shoves him very hard, and says, "You mind your business, and I'll mind my own." But that seems to be a very good-natured thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Hey, Quinn, you're going to stake a lot on that joke there, are you?
57 varieties of window makers.
Heinz 57.
Wow, that is, man, I can't believe you both understood that, but I did not. I guess I need to just try more Heinz products.
That's it.
I usually only stick with their ketchup and mustard, but
That's it.
I'll try their saffron.
I
How
was
much?
thinking about saffron the other day. I was thinking about seeing it at Penzies and the price of it and everything. It's crazy. Like $100 a gram or something.
Yeah, well, there's different grades of it too. I think there's the really expensive kind, and then there are some smaller, more like, I guess, garnish, like saffron. Yeah. But, okay.
Pinch for a pot.
Well, I'll kind of let them, talk and maybe just add to the conversation if, just to see what they talk about, observe,
Did you want to ask about the fabric?
Well, yeah. I don't want to, if it's like for their family, right? I guess I'll just put it politely, right? How would I? Yeah, just so I tell them that. So I imagine it's shared among family members. Would it be possible to? I would be interested in paying for some if it is for sale.
The A1 all kind of like stiffen and look at each other, as the mouth staff, translates simultaneously all your words into the various languages. The phenol that you addressed, the scorpion being, again turns quite blue, and the A1 are like clearly taken aback, and the phenol says, it will take some time, but I would be honored for you to have some. You have honored me with your words.
Okay.
How much would you like? I can only make so much each day.
Man, I guess enough for like a dress for me would be interesting, right? It seems like a good amount. Maybe I could indicate that, like, just
Sure.
area. I don't know. Probably don't know the right terminology for it.
Maybe we can get Obi-Wan to look up the yardage for a dress and then send it.
Like, I mean, also, I guess the phenol would know. So I say, like, if you could make a dress in my size, enough for that.
she you indicate the correct length for a dress.
Mm-hmm.
And she says that she will consult her family to help, and maybe they'll weave together. But and you, I mean, I thought she was going to reject you, but I rolled open ended. I mean, she's like,
Yeah.
you've
And
really,
Brise is pretty generous, so I'll say, hey, if there's, could I, surely I could pay you for, your services, even if it is an honor.
do you? I mean,
Or
I think you would think it appropriate maybe to give not money, but being kind of vulgar, right? But rather give something of beauty of your world.
oh,
Maybe.
sure, okay, yeah.
Do you have anything in mind like that?
I can look in my I give you my Falcon Familiar. Let me look at my equipment here. Oh,
Nothing.
yeah, I've got some treasures.
I have falcon feathers in abundance in a moment, and I will provide those to you.
No, hold on, I've got treasures. Taurus obedient. I don't remember that.
Any jewelry?
Yeah, I've got some gems. I have some jewelry. Most of the jewelry I'm wearing, it's
Yeah.
my own. Although I guess if it feels really fitting, right? If this is coming from their family, then I can give them. I have like a where's the bracelet that I wear? Yeah, a gemstone bracelet that I wear all the time. I'll take that off, and this seems like something of dear to me. To provide for something dear to you.
She lifts her claws very high, and one of the Awan, sort of chortles derisively and says, you can't translate that, and turns to you and says, she couldn't. That gesture means she couldn't think of accepting it. The honor is enough for her. You have flattered her so greatly.
Oh. You're very, very easy to impress by Earth standards, by Karandrin.
Well, there you go. Now you can go to their world and just flatter people. And
I know, that's what I was gonna say. This is like the colonialism. What happens is like, wow, is this easy? Okay, everybody, let's go. That turns their entire world into just like the Lorax. They're just making needs.
Well, this one of the kind of cool things like makes me think about like the consequences of going to that sort of realism that I want Karandrin based in, and then how things proceed logically from it. Some really adventurous merchant, right? And they just go to the finale world, and they just flatter or purchase or however else, and they bring. I mean, they're the only supplier, and then it gets to be lucrative enough. And now you're worried about being ambushed and so on, and then they hire adventurers.
Right.
And there's a whole storyline of why you have adventurers in the world, and you have guards and all this kind of stuff, and but there's that sense of adventure and otherworldliness to it, and I like it when we stumble across these instances. I just think it's interesting. It makes the world feel full.
Yeah.
So
I do indicate, to my, shouldn't be too far away, right? My bedroll and little camp, and I'll say I'll be staying here the next couple of days. If you want to, speak with me again, or whenever the fabric is ready.
She turns, she knocks two claws together and goes. The same Awan laughs and goes, she understands. She doesn't understand how this works, but she understands. And so off she scurries.
Wow. Okay.
These
Awesome.
horns of beverage that they drink from are enormous. I mean, they're as tall as the damn phenol. They're probably 4 feet. They probably hold 2 gallons of liquid.
2 gallons of alcohol. Yeah, I guess if they're that tall, that kind of makes sense. It's proportional.
So yeah, their conversation just continues. They're clearly all merchants.
Yeah.
And their discussion centers around profit, but there's clearly it's not about how much they can get for themselves. It is about helping. They have employees just like we have on Karandrin and that sort of thing, but they discuss it like it's a family. And they
are these the A1 or the phenol or both?
The A1.
Okay.
One of them is some sort of ship maker, but their ships clearly differ from ours in that apparently they can fly some distance, but not. They talk about trying to extend records, like record lengths of flight.
Wow.
Hopping over rough water, making it to cutting off, peninsula and isthmus and things like this, to save time. As opposed to having to put to sea when there's a really bad storm.
Right.
Launching and landing in dry docks and being able to land. And
dry docks. That's what they mean by like landing through the air and like a.
Well, do you know the English term dry dock?
No, I don't.
So they when they build a ship, they build it in a dry dock, which is
okay.
Right. It's a cradled system that they build, and then there's a whole YouTube category, if you will, or interest in watching ships launch.
Cool, yeah.
And it's cool because these ships are not small, and people just like to watch them go in the water. And so I stumbled across something that my father-in-law was watching, and it was a series of these videos. I was like, oh, I've never seen that. I'm glad to have seen that.
Yeah.
And so
the world.
It slides, they have the whole system, right, where these stops, this wall drops out, and now there's just a slide, and it boom, it hits the water. And it was a road running along this canal, and that road just got a little tidal wave and hit the thing, and cars were going through it fine. They knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And there you go. That's that's where it gets launched. And so there were a couple others on there. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. It was also interesting that they didn't launch bow first or aft first, and so they launched, they launched at starboard or port, from the side. And
interesting. I would think it might topple, but I guess no.
Right. So that is what a dry dock is, and for some repairs you have to do dry dock. I was shocked to learn. So, one of the biggest problems, at least in earth waters, is barnacle buildup. Right. You have a ship.
They just corrode your entire hull. Yeah.
Well, not just that. They will build up so much on it, your ship will sink.
Oh, the weight of it. Oh my god.
The weight of it will bring you down. So, for pirates who, of course, didn't have access to dry dock because they were bad boys, they would sail their ship into some abandoned island, run it aground. Then they would start unloading. They would unload the ship. When low tide hit, they would grab ropes. All the men would just take it and drag the ship onto shore.
That's intense, dude.
And then knock it over to its side.
Mm-hmm.
And they would clean one side. Then they would pull it back over to the other side and clean the other side. And I'm like, I just don't think about the sailors on the ship moving the ship by hand.
Yeah. And like just rocking it like that on land. That's crazy. Also, like, how do you, without modern measurements, right? How do you know when it's time to like clean it, right? I guess you just know from being on the ship for so long, hey, it's lower, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, you know, like, look, let's just make a routine. My father told me, my grandfather told him that, you know, every 4 months you've got to clean it. And so, like, have you heard about the attempt to build a space elevator? Any of that technology?
Yeah, I think I've heard of it. I don't know if the attempt was ever done. Or just...
No, but there are companies out there, or at least there were as of 10 or 15 years ago.
Right.
And I went and heard a couple of talks by leaders in that industry. And they, so a space elevator would be a massive cable that would go all the way up into space.
Right.
You then build a car that drives up and down that cable. You can imagine as a trolley car, whatever you want, you know. It's going to have clamps that grip on, wheeled clamps that grip onto the cable.
By the way, this is what the merchants are talking about right now, actually.
That's exactly what they're talking about. So you
took the space elevator to work. It was too slow.
That's right. So they drive it up. Well, where you want to put these things is on the equator, in the ocean, so that you're away from shipping lanes and from aircraft lanes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The problem is you have to continually clean the barnacles.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be a multi-hull design is what this one designer was working on. A multi-hull design. So let's say it's 10 ship hulls. And what you do is there's 3 hulls back at the port, and they're getting cleaned and repaired. And then they come and swap out whatever hull needs it the most.
Right.
Cleaning those. And so,
wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming at the end of the elevator, there's like a satellite, right? Rotating.
There's a weight.
Yeah.
So basically the Earth is literally spinning a string.
Yeah.
Keeping it taut. But now you're just driving payloads up, and it's a lot more efficient, especially at the equator.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's one of Arthur C. Clarke's ideas, but I forget. Much like satellites were, and mobile phones, I think, were his idea. But they're talking about a competitor who basically holds all the records.
Yeah.
And they talk about different materials. They do seem to build out of wood like we do. There's also some sort of very large shellfish, apparently, that's used. There is some sort of gel it produces, and they can use it to seal. They use to seal the hull. Apparently, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would Brise might know a little bit about the some of this as well from her parents, right? Because they worked as making like shipping or ornaments on like ships.
Right. It's the ornamentation, the high-end finishings.
Yes.
Yeah. So like molding and things like that, to do staterooms and any sort of wood tile work or flooring that, might be high quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely familiarity here.
Yeah, a little bit. There's space in the conversation. I might just ask about that. It's like your ships, are they also, ornamented in any way? Do you use them? I mean, is there leisure travel as well?
certainly our large family craft that is well appointed, and of course craft for the worker celebrations. If you've had a good year, then certainly you want the workers and their families to go out and enjoy some of the fine ships that they've made.
Right.
They ask you about the ships here. They ask you, do they sail water, much as the streams that run through here? You know,
I say they fly further than your ships do.
That's right. You get a lot of dragon get a hold of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I mentioned what I know, about
Just sort of describe our ships generally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you use no animals to pull your ships.
Yeah, no, we just use the wind. I say I'm not sure if there is an animal capable of pulling a ship here.
They laugh, this gurgling laugh, and one of them is looking around and says, "Where's Wildbrin? He could sell these people a whole herd of the Kinnabor. They have no animals to pull ships. He could make a fortune for him and his workers. Where is that fool?" And they're seriously looking around for him, sort of jokingly, because there's a lot of logistical things you got to sort out first. Because among our people, we use an animal that can travel pretty far in the rivers, but the ocean's really their real home. They can be bred to pull craft. The navies especially like them. Could double the speed of your ship. Get your forces there much faster. He points to one of his colleagues. Cuffer uses them for his fruit business, hauling fruit in from the Red Isles. The Cuffer, he says, can't have spoilage, So they asked you what line you were in, and what did you tell them?
Yeah, what was the full sentence? They said something, and then what line?
Yeah, as in what's your business? What business are you in? And you said you were just here. That's right. You said you were just here to see a brief, but they asked you again in a different way. They basically ask you, when you're up to your own devices, who do you work for?
I talk about there's a noble woman by the name of Mia Grawl, who I'm in service to, provide services to. I guess to describe it, generally just protection and or running.
Investigation in some sense.
Investigate like specific. Investigation is the best way to put it.
They all look at each other. Oh, we have a spy among us. A spy, I tell you. And they laugh.
They seem pretty good-natured.
They do. One of them glances at you and says, "You have no drink. Can we get you a small horn?"
I'd enjoy that. Yeah.
Um, he waves somebody over from one of the tents. It says, "A small horn from my friend." The person, and it's one of the Awan, they say, "I have not seen his kind. I don't know what effect it'll have on him." And he says, "Bring an assortment. Bring us a tray. Bring us a tray then."
Bring us a flight of.
That's right. So
We only drink tequila on our homeworld. Damn it! Oh my god, hate tequila.
pure gasoline. I just can't take it any of it.
Literally.
So sure enough, they bring a set of cups. They're sort of plain tin cups, and it's just on a serving tray that's clearly not meant for human hands. It's got things carved out where something else can hold it, but you just kind of, you know. And so they all sort of peer down to see what you got, what the sampling is. And they name off, and they're like, "This is what's in ours, and this is what the Chidari drink, and that's a favorite among the Fanal." And they just go down.
Yeah.
I
mean, how smart? I mean, how?
If you're about to ask how smart you are,
it's just
a fun answer.
I don't know what would be the right character thing. Like, Brise would probably obviously be wary of any foreign substance, but they're also seem to be, very offering it so it can't be harmful, right? Or
they can't know. Sure.
I know, yeah. And then that's what I guess I'll say. It's like, how do I know if any of these, will have any adverse effects?
Obviously, dip a finger is what they tell you. Dip a finger.
All right.
What they drink is not unpleasant. The Awan, it really, the best description for it is sort of a beef broth. It's what it tastes like anyway.
Okay. I think also I'm thinking of I'm kind of biased, our modern idea of poisons, right? And how what other animals eat can be poisonous to us. Brise might not have that. So she's probably like, oh no, it's probably just weird. Yeah. So
we had, I grew up raising a handful of cows on the farm, and it was sort of late in our process that we realized that wild black cherry, which we had growing a couple places along the fence line, was poisonous to cows.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we had to go and get those cut down. They'd been there for years, and we didn't really know of any problems we had with it.
Right.
But
maybe they stayed away from it, but
yeah, but it's a little unnerving that there was that there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
The Finale's drink smells sweet, but it tastes like thick water. It's just slightly more viscous than water, and the Chidara's drink, very flavorful, very hard to describe. There are things going on in your mouth that you've never had experienced before.
Wow.
Just the tip.
Which one is that?
That's the Chidara's preferred.
Chitara.
The Kaxeth have a drink. The cup for it is really, it's been hammered clearly to be narrow, and you look at it and they're like, it's for their tusks. It gets out of the way. It'll fit between their tusks.
Oh.
It's sort of almost like a cheesy thin custard kind of
Interesting.
taste. I mean, it's fine. You know, it's food. Right now, I think you're leading right now with an 87 at the broth.
Wow, really? That's my favorite. That's
But it's
hilarious.
but that's obviously it'd be for sipping, not for chugging.
Yeah.
Um, and there's another hammered one. That's another one from the Kexeth.
Mm.
Um, it's um, it's a very mild, thin. You call it almost a floral peachy flavor, and that's your new favorite.
Okay.
And that's the end of your sampling. Um,
Okay.
so
Well, speaking of beverages, it is 8:06. You want to take a little
yeah,
break?
I was thinking it'd be a
Yeah.
good
I
spot.
have a couple more questions for them, so we can
Yeah.
stay in the
So
conversation.
absolutely. So guys, we're gonna go stretch our legs and refill our drinks. You take time to do the same, and we'll be back after just a few minutes. Feel free to sample beverages at your own residence. So we'll see you in a second.
Stick around.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Let's get Max back up here. There he is. Thanks for hanging with us through the break. And we're going to continue with our exploration of this cultural gathering
Yeah.
of otherworldly beings awaiting the arrival, allegedly, of their god named Obrive. We left off with Brise talking to a handful of merchants of another world. These enormous beings, 7 to 8 feet high, huge, sort of lumpy gray heads, talk like they're gargling mud. And they're all sort of owners of larger businesses in this other world. And meanwhile, thousands are teeming around, awaiting for the arrival of the god.
It'd be so funny if like 5 days go by and Obrief doesn't appear, and everyone's just like, "What?" Everyone's like, "Who would be responsible?" Right? It's curious to think about.
You have to. They sue the venue.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Ticketmaster gets involved.
I'm taking the first portal home. This is a waste of my time. I knew I shouldn't have taken off time for this.
Obi-Wan made a really good point during the break, and it's a point that requires you to roll.
All right. Well, I roll a 74.
So
that's the first time I've rolled this session.
That's right.
So much conversation.
It occurs to you that you could make Aldrift's career with that fabric.
Like he could create a dress that'll be unlike any other, right? And
yes,
become renowned for it. Yeah, that was my idea, is to have him, work with it as kind of a gift for him. And yeah, if that is an outcome of it, that would be fantastic, actually.
Yeah. And cool. So give that some thought. I mean, of course, you don't have to go that way. I mean, you could have him do it and it be for you, but if if he did, say, accessories for Miagral,
right?
I mean, it would be a tremendous honor, even just to bring that fabric to light.
Yeah.
So give that some thought.
Yeah. So while we're drinking and stuff with all these guys, I would do want to bring up if any of them are familiar with a Senatuk, right? Which is that kind of portable screen that I saw Galkokek using, that could like see through walls and peer into the distance.
No, all of our people are familiar with those. That's why during school you can't get away with anything. All the order teach our people as children, and all the teachers are from the order. Did you bring a little Kateri frog into your pocket after the break was over, and now you have it in the classroom to release into the classroom as a prank? Oh, the Senatuk will find you out, and then to the administrator you go for punishment. They are the haunting nightmare of all children, because they can peel back all of your schemes and all of your pranks and find you out. Yes, we all know about the Senatuk. Bloody nosy priests.
Yeah, he sounds like he knows too well that he's been through it himself. Yeah. And I say, it obviously has many practical applications too, with seeing if enemies are waiting for you on the other side of a wall.
Their job is dangerous, traveling from world to world, searching for the next visitation. They are well equipped to defend themselves, or so I've heard.
Okay.
Certainly, hearing of a priest of the order being robbed is unlikely. Now, some of the other clergy, those that I've lost my sheet. Where is it? Where is the thingy? Where is that thing? They are? No. The Comat is the destroyer in their faith.
Yeah, that sounds familiar, but
the clergy who honor Comat, I do not use the Sinatook, and
Comat the destroyer,
and so they are at least more kindly regarded by children.
Well, wait, I think everyone should know that Comat the destroyer is coming in 2.8 million sunrises from now. But actually, that was on June 6th. So actually, we're running out of time.
We are. Every
2 weeks. Sorry, keep going.
No, it's funny. I like that. We should do a Comat countdown on the website.
Just 2.9 billion days. Slowly counting down.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
That's how long our stream's going to be.
I don't think we're going to. There's no way we could play. How would we do that?
No, I mean, we haven't played. We've played since. In the game terms, March 1st to June.
Right. Well, Brise wouldn't be alive, and how that's thousands of years of history as well.
Yeah.
You need to account for.
Yeah. So that's several thousand years. So.
But he was talking about the priests who worship the destroyer god, right?
Right. So they don't use the Sinatook. It's around, I don't know, 6,000 years, 7,000 years. Obi-Wan, you can check us on the math. Man, I had that set out. Where is that thing? Oh, there. No, that's not it. I had 3 post-its set out with that information from the talks we've had. And I cannot find it. I know I've seen it.
Where's the post-it telling you where those post-its are? Your index post-it.
That's right. I need an index post-it to list all the post-its. All right. So
I ask why wouldn't they use it if it's such a useful tool? Even if they worship a different god.
Well, both gods are worshipped in our culture.
Oh.
But the purpose of the Sinatook, first and foremost, is to divine the arrival of Brise.
Okay.
For the clerics who honor Comat, their duties are to honor and to, of course, maintain public cleanliness.
All right.
Notice how loud my rolling is on this mic.
It is. It is very loud. Yeah. I don't know, just because you're rolling close to it, or.
But I don't know, isn't it? Maybe distancing it. See if that's any better.
Angle it a little bit.
Because it doesn't make any sense. Because it's at the bottom. This is one of those. It's at the top is where should be most significant. So I didn't most sensitive.
Yeah.
That's why I assumed that things down at the bottom would be much less so. So.
Okay. I asked if the Sinatook is so divine. It imagine it would be difficult for someone like myself to acquire one.
They all sort of look at each other puzzlingly, and they, Quinn
Quinn says, Hashtag tubercular Karen. I got TBK.
I got it my way. It's one says my nephew is of the order. They're not for sale. They are only given after certain rites and rituals are completed, and after years of study.
That's fair.
And as my colleague has already said, taking a Senatook by force would be quite difficult. So very few are lost in that manner.
I ask, how are they created? Are there a limited amount of them, or are they actually constructed?
They all kind of looked at each other for an answer. They don't know.
Huh. I should probably explain for our audience too. The Senatook is what we met Galkakek. The first kind of encounter with this species is a window he was using, basically a portable window that he could see through walls and at distances. And I asked him while I was exploring the keep, is like, do you know what's in this room in the keep? And he kind of just manipulated it and saw that, oh, yes, this room is empty behind this locked door. I'm like, wow, that seems like a really useful thing to have. So,
right,
that makes sense. They used to also.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying it's sort of it's a sort of this, I don't know, collapsible, whether magically or physically, we're not exactly sure. But
Yeah.
it's a pane of glass.
Right.
And they discern information through it, and they seem to, they peer through it at objects to gain more information about a given object or location. And this exact mechanism and abilities we just don't know.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, we'll let them continue the conversation.
Sort of quietens down. People are sort of lost on their own thoughts. A couple of members wander off. It seems like they're kind of breaking up, Okay. One takes his leave and then takes the staff.
Right. Okay. Well, I might head over, if I'm feeling adventurous. We could try to check out their homeworld, because Brise is probably very curious about that.
That's going to be, that'd be fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I've trusted them so far, and they seem pretty welcoming. I don't see why I wouldn't just take a peek, through the portal.
Right.
Now, I guess I have to be careful about how much time I spend there, right?
Yes. And you got to be able to find a portal.
Right.
You got to be able to locate whatever portal you, the specific portal that you use.
Right. Well, it also seems like there would be plenty available because of everyone's coming here, right?
What if there's too many available and they don't all come here?
Ooh. Okay.
You see what I mean? Like if they spoke of
I didn't
it,
think about that. Yeah.
They spoke of it like it's a carriage ride. You know what I mean? You pay a service and you get transported. And it's that common. So that means that there's going to be a lot of carriages if you get my point. Yeah. So, you don't want to venture. You just want to be certain you can.
I don't want to end up in Timbuktu world.
Exactly. That doesn't exist.
That was the thing in like 90s and 2000s cartoons. It was Timbuktu was like just the place no one knew where it was. It's just a town in like the Africa, right?
It's Timbuktu. I thought was near Nepal.
Well, there you go. Case in point.
Right.
There
In
was-
Garfield, it was Abu Dhabi. It
oh,
was
right. Yeah,
always
that's-
shipping Nermal to the cute little kitten, shipping him to Abu Dhabi repeatedly. So
okay. Well, yeah, I guess if we want to confirm it, can we maybe ask that before he takes away the staff? Or not?
ask what?
Ask him about if it's easy to find, how would I find the same portal back if I were to travel to his world? Right. Or I guess once I'm in your world, how would I get back, right, through another portal? Are they labeled or
They must be just a helpful people. I mean, I'm gonna have to just give them a bonus because they just, I mean, he says, come, I'll show you.
all right.
And he sets out to where there isn't one. And he starts just striding that way. You keep up.
And like run to keep up with him.
Yeah. Is there anything you need from your campsite before you go?
Well, actually, oh God, yeah, I need Nalani, right? Because we can't be separated. And which means I probably want to take all my stuff. So, well, actually, I guess I could ask him, right? Is there a place to store my things that I brought with me here, right? I mean, don't you think there'd be like lockers or some service for people, like kind of Convergence, right, where they have the weapons stored outside the city? I say I have a great many things I don't want to have to take with me, although I will if there's no alternative.
He's puzzled even at your question, and he says, just gather your things. I'll wait.
Okay. Then I gather my things and
Nalani.
Alani and come back with him.
So off you trudge. You can see as you're walking, you're like, oh, he's actually following a path. Like I can see it, and it's a fresh path. I mean, this grass is trodden down.
Right.
Those brush are very recently cut. I mean, you see the white of the stems, and it's broader than you would expect for a game trail or something like that. And of course, these people are broad. And so let me send a message here.
This would be really interesting to come across, like 2 weeks from now, everything's abandoned. It's back to wilderness. You just see all this like remnants, right? Like paths and maybe like little bits of refuse. Like what happened here? Maybe remnants of like the stands they built.
Right. Although they take a lot of that down, but yeah, you're right. There'd be sort of holes where they've driven the supports into the ground. Yeah. And I mean,
it'd be kind of like where around where I encountered Verilag, like that kind of unfinished wall and like stonework that seemed like it was part of the beginning of something, but like it was very weird, very unusual.
It is. I mean, it's one of the great, I don't know, sort of powers you have narratively in any form of storytelling, right? Have something be unfinished, right?
Right.
And the famous example is, the unfinished meal. Like, something interrupted.
Right. What happened? Yeah, it just
mid-bite.
Yeah.
Right. Or even mid-preparation, right? Oh, there's water still on the stove. And we saw a really interesting, what was the show? It was a British show. I can't remember what it was, but it was a whole missing family. And their food was still cooking.
Weird.
And there were like little kids involved, and you're like, oh man, what has happened? What has happened? And it wasn't as dark as it could have been, but it was a really good mystery. Like they got you to sink your teeth in and hold on. So he goes, and the trail gets broader. Other trails join it, and then it sort of, you come to sort of the stem of the trunk of the tree, right?
Mhm.
And then it just stops, and there's no portal there. And he says, "This one is nearest my offices."
Okay.
And then you guys wait and talk. He points out a few things, like I think they'll be done with that set of seating in not more than an hour. Um, um,
Waiting for the portal bus to appear.
exactly. There should be a bench here. Why don't they build a bench?
Oh, the portal drivers are getting lazier and lazier.
How loud is my rolling now?
Much quieter.
Oh, good. Okay. So we'll leave it up that high, and that'll be great.
There you go.
So after several minutes, portal appears. He sort of takes a little step back, and so do you. And wagon after wagon come through. Even the Chidara can control wagons. It's very interesting. They have a whole system of pulleys, and they just operate it, and there's weights that hang from the pulleys to give enough force for these beasts, very strange beasts of burden, to pull.
Right.
One of the more unusual beasts of burden is essentially a great wheel, at the end of which are sort of like short anemone-like tentacles. And they sort of put an axle through it, and it just wheels away.
Wow.
And instead of having sort of a bit for the animal to fill, pull, and so on, there are these two levers on either side that tap it based on what you pull.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strong. And if you watch closely, like if it goes up a rise or whatever and has to grip, you see the these short stubby tentacles really grip and pull.
Yeah.
And it rolls through. So there's a series of 3 of them. He gives it a moment. He gestures and he strides through. You go through, and
All right.
It is really unbelievable. It is a massive city.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Kevin. You had to roll up all this stuff for like the gathering, and now you're like, I have to roll up this whole alien city.
No, it's fun. I like doing it.
Good.
I really do. It's just, it's fun to watch it unfold.
Yes, it is. That's why I'm really happy that I was able to do it. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to.
You don't know how these beings have such arts, but I mean, these buildings, if you saw a building that was 10 stories high, you would be shocked. And
Yeah.
these are 20 stories high.
Wow.
The sky is it's a darker blue. The sun is in the sky, lower in the sky. So you may be someplace on Karandrin, just at a different point on the planet. The smells are just overwhelmingly different. Food, animals. You see the great tentacled wheels going up and down.
Yeah.
They seem to be used exclusively as draft animals, not as individual riding animals, and not really even for every now and then you'll see something akin to a carriage being pulled by them. The Chidara are throughout, as are the Kexeth. The buildings are clearly all built to accommodate, though, the tremendous height of the A1.
Right.
The buildings are clearly there's some cut stone in them, but there's a translucent coating on top that's sort of a milky translucence through them that is kind of like plaster over the stone, you know. There is sort of a unfortunate lack of vegetation in the city. You kind of feel a little bare. But you guys step in and then quickly step to the side because there's more wagons coming. Portal closes. These wagons come and approach, and then members of the order, members, of the clerical A1, they go and they're checking things and they're looking through, your friend leans down and just says quietly to you in his gargled way. He says, they check for inventory to make sure that things are appropriate and needed, but they also check for miscreants trying to escape the law to another world.
Oh, wow.
There are skyways over the streets.
Wow.
Purely pedestrian. Obviously favored by the Chidara. You see lots of them up there. I mean, the A1 are walking up there too, as are the Kexeth. There are open air businesses seem to be very common, open air markets and so on. And a lot of clearly just clustered here trying to sell,
Yeah.
Hey, you've probably had a hard day loading that wagon. You want a drink? Do you want a kebab? Do you want, just any sort of little thing they can, sort of like convenience stores, right? You're on the road, you've worked hard, you want a little treat. Or
kind of feels like Times Square a little bit, or it's just like everyone's taking advantage of everyone that's there. Yeah. It's just so many people gathered.
The buildings do vary in height. The stone is sort of a light yellow, like a sandstone, and with the translucence through them, covering them, and then with the sunlight, it does make the place feel very light and airy. But again, you just wish there was vegetation somewhere. Where's a tree? Where's the,
Well, I'll ask him if I have my bearings right. I do ask him about that. I noticed not many trees or plants.
He says, "What good would that do in a city?"
Fair point. Let's cut down all the trees.
He tells you this is the port of Kiakan, Kiakan. Cough of death.
White, yellow.
The ports are directly ahead. There are temples here to Obrive. Small, large, glorious, plain. I think they should close a few and consolidate, but no one listens to me. He points to one of the tentacled wheels. He says, "The tentacles will reach for you. It may seem affectionate, but it's not.
Oh, okay.
The tentacles can nip quite painfully, looking at your skin probably to the bone. If they reach for you and get too close, feel free to strike them, just not with anything organic."
Right. Okay.
The owners won't mind, they do it themselves. Don't feed them, though. They have to be kept on a strict cycle.
You don't want to know what happens if you feed them after midnight.
Exactly. There are very large birds in the sky. They look relatively normal. Maybe they sort of have a strangely wet appearance, but they are large. Not quite as large as the great eagles, but you see them perched here and there. They seem to be eating,
excuse me,
some sort of large eel creatures, clearly just plucked from the sea. They're a deep blue in color, quite striking. He tells you that you have the run of the city. He tells you that this is the only portal. This is the portal nearest the gray mark.
Okay.
And if you ask for that, most people, especially any of the order, should be able to direct you here. That said, you should respect the gray mark. These will be buildings and streets that have streaks of gray marked across them. These areas have been deemed off limits by the order and are being punished for criminal activity. If you go in, you cannot come out until the punishment is complete for the whole neighborhood.
Wow.
Same is true for a building. If you see marks on the door, even if you were to climb through a window and you didn't know the door was marked, you cannot leave.
Okay.
Until the punishment is complete. That might only be hours, but in some cases it's weeks or months.
What is the nature of the punishment? I imagine it depends on the crime.
We experience it as constant moderate pain.
Okay.
And an inability to concentrate or focus. I do not know what the punishment would do to one from another world.
I will do well to keep away then. Thanks for the warning.
He puts an enormous hand on your shoulder. He says, "I will leave you then."
Okay.
And he sort of takes a position in front of this caravan that's getting set up so he can just try to walk through with them. And, a moment or two later, once they're done searching everything, they search underneath the wagons and everything. And you see, as he described, you see the tentacles reach for members of the order or whatever. And they, without even looking, they just smack them away. But never with their hand. They use that weapon that they carry and
Yeah.
they just smack it away without even noticing. You know, you'll
Wow.
see it pick at their shirts or whatever, and that irritates them because it'll leave a hole, and you can tell that, you know,
Yeah.
this is ceremonial garb, and so they really give it a good smack. No one says anything, and then
So interesting. That's so like alien. I love it.
and so off they go, and you know, the
Yeah.
portal opens and they go through. By the time they're done, it's, you know, it's like 5 wagons in the caravan, and they go
Wow.
through. All Chidara guiding them with their
Okay.
clever little mechanisms. And well, what was the plane? What was the plane called? Where are we now? What is it called? ODs?
Yeah. ODs. Yeah. Sorry, I kind of like spaced out. There's just so much like to take in. I do want to see he said the sea is not far from here, right? I would like
Right.
to see the sea so we can walk down the street in that direction. Keeping my I should also tune into Nalani, see how she's feeling about all this. Make sure she's not.
She is unsettled, but you can tell, because you have a hard time hearing. That's how you can tell.
Oh yeah.
Because she's cuddled right up to your head.
Yeah.
And way to go, Obi-Wan. That's really funny.
I was resisting the urge to make the joke. I'm glad someone else did.
That's hilarious.
Now it's socially acceptable to.
That's right.
OD's nuts.
So you go down. There's the lot of pink and white all over the place.
Mhm.
The city itself clearly is celebrating another visitation. The Chidara are very plentiful on this street, and there does seem to be we're sort of drawing a connection between Chidara and a penchant for mechanism and cleverness.
Okay, yeah. Like they don't just operate these vehicles; they probably like know very well how they work. And
yeah. So a lot of metalworking, a lot of woodworking, very fine detail. There are some of the phenol here, the bright red scorpions.
Yeah.
That wretched odor is here, and you've pretty well narrowed it down.
Forgot about that.
It's the Chidara.
Oh no.
Something about those dudes. I mean, it is, when you got there, I rolled about like pleasantness of smells and things like that, right? Because it's totally alien biology. Like I always want to check for that.
Right.
01 is and so there's something that's just awful about them.
When they shower, they smell worse.
Exactly. Just add water. That's what their scent glands need.
Wet dog. A wet lizard.
A member of the order, a female, if you had to guess, takes notice of you and raises a hand for you to stop. Says something to you in a language you don't understand.
I just like shake my head and respond back in Thax that, you know, I don't speak your language.
She looks at you puzzled, and then in gargled, gargling Thax.
Yeah.
Says, "Do you understand me now?"
Yes, thank you. What is that?
I have not seen your kind before. Did you stumble through a portal? Are you lost?
I say I come from the world where Obrieve is visiting. One of your kind took me to visit your world for a short time. I plan to return soon.
Well, you are welcome to take up residence if you
Okay.
wish. You would simply have to register. But visit as long as you like, but you will not be able to buy property, homes, land, that sort of thing until you register with the council. But please, enjoy Kiaken. But pray, do not miss the arrival.
I guess I should ask, clarify. Well, no, I think I was told, right? It's within the next 4 days. That's the most recent estimate. So
yeah, 4 days was also like sort of the record for how long it took. And so surely within 4 days.
Oh, right.
Surely you sort of, I mean, so, it could be any hour, but surely within 4 days.
Mm. Okay. No,
Now she's going to know the layout of the city. Is there anything you really?
Yeah, so I'll ask. I'm trying to, find the sea. I'd like to see the docks. If you could point me in the right direction.
Keep on your way. Avoid the gray marks. Yes?
Right. Don't want to be punished for years.
There are at least 2 taverns on the docks that have the gray mark. Pay heed.
Okay. I'll keep my eye out. Which I guess also I'll tell you, Kevin. I just make sure Brise is keeping her eye out as best she can.
Sure. Let's talk about state of readiness.
Yeah, I guess I'm in a city, so I'll just
custom looking around. Yeah, you don't even really see a dagger around. I mean, seems very low key here in terms of like.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll have all my weapons on me, but I won't have anything drawn, just hands empty.
Okay.
I ask her, when you say gray mark, do you spell it EY or AY?
Yeah, are you British or how British am I?
The gray mark.
Have I had you take a look at that on
oh my God, yes, that was so funny.
I love that thing.
How British am I? Bon.
Just a moment.
You are, what's the one? You are more British than the pigeon shit on the stones of Trafalgar Square.
You've made me so happy.
Oh my God.
So happy. I love that delivery. Happy. HEPPY. Happy.
I like looked up to see. I mean, that video should go viral. It's so funny, but it's I don't know why. It's just kind of obscure. It's old media, I guess.
Yeah, it's good. It is good stuff. I listen to it, I don't know, every few months because it just cheers me up.
It does. It just puts a smile on your face.
There's jewelers here. Again, anything with clever craftsmanship, and the Chidara have a hand in it.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. I mean, I would love to like stop at any of these stores too and like buy some stuff. I guess we'll focus on getting to the sea first, and then maybe on the way back we'll keep an eye out like for what different wares there are, and then make a decision later.
So there is, I mean, you don't know what this shop is. It's a shop with Don't smash the flowers, Wesley. That's great. There's these big kegs, open topped. There's and they're bubbling and frothing, and they're all across this window and across this guy's tent, right? Because it's all open air stuff, and there's tables and tables of these big ones, and you see these big casks that are open. There's smoke coming out of some, bubbles coming out of some, foam coming out of some, and the other draft animal that you see very commonly is this sort of powerful, I mean, you'd call it a horse, except it just has a sort of a long, loose sort of trunk, and sort of like a taper, but the size of a horse, 6-legged, very muscular. And there's lots of people with draft animals stopped here. And in discussing with the vendor, they're always pointing to animals and so on. So it's as though this is a place for beverages or liquid treatments for the animal.
Wow, yeah.
And sure enough, you see money exchange hands, and an A1 takes you call it a mug. It takes one of these little casks and just kind of pours it atop one of the tentacled wheels.
Wow.
He puts on these chain gloves and he rubs it into the tentacles and so on, and is really kind of working it in.
I don't know if I want to see this, Kevin.
He pulls on it to get it to back up so he can, and he just kind of works it in.
Yeah. Okay.
This is how you make other tentacled wheels. That's what we're learning.
Oh my gosh. Man, okay. I was going to say earlier, I didn't even think about it, but if they are unfamiliar with my kind, it's interesting how they know Thax. I wonder if Thax is like also in other worlds as well, like somehow.
Well, like if you
or
roll
like
for me,
they've heard other beings speak it, right? 8. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that common of a language, or they've visited enough.
Yeah.
I mean,
they just picked it up.
Right.
From other creatures that speak it. Yeah. Because like orc or not orcs, but no, yeah, I guess orcs and goblins and other creatures would speak Thax too.
Right. It is it's definitely cold here. It's as cold as it would be up in the mountains right now, and
yeah,
up the top of the mountains. I mean, it's brisk, and so you really have to pull your cloak tight around you. You work your way down. You find yourself at the docks. And there are, for what are all intents and purposes, these massive armored seals chained to some of the ships.
Oh. What do they call these guys again? So many names. I'm just like
Yeah, I usually go back and watch and take notes.
Kinnabor. Some of the Kinnabor.
You can see that some have these spars on the side that clearly have sort of accordion folded wings that clearly are meant to swing and open out and allow that flight they were talking about.
Oh, the ships. Wow. Okay.
But now, strangely, some of the ones with Kinnabor chained to them also have wings, and you wonder how that works.
Yeah.
There are pins of Kinnabor that are, that people are hawking. I mean, it's massive. They're massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there'll be 3 or 4 in there swimming and playing. It stretches out pretty far to the bay. Let's see what the terrain is here. Terrain is low hills. There across the bay, you can see really thick forest. The trees could be anything from home. I mean, they look really normal.
Yeah.
Some of the other plants, okay, definitely those are not from home. They're sort of a multi-folded orange fungus, you would say. It's probably 10 feet high. And you can see it popping up in color here and there throughout the forest. And wow, on the top of a hill, a point that juts out at the edge of the bay, there has got to be what has to be a statue of a Brise, and it's enormous. It's bigger than one of the ships.
Wow.
And it's sort of this dome-fronted, almost like, what is the word for that? Almost this cascading series of domes attached to each other. And then it ends in sort of this square end. It has what look like are like a fish's fins coming down from the front part. It's sort of ivory at the front, an ivory sort of color.
Yeah.
But then the successive sort of, I don't know what you want to call those, not plates really, but the other segments, I guess, are sort of a metallic gray. There must be a building underneath it, or maybe it's a walkway. You see lights lit around the bottom of its base. The trees make it hard to see much right at the base, but the lights are peeking through the trees. So there are ships coming in. They sport pink and white sails sometimes, or they're flying flags. There's apparently a service for cleaning your Kinnabor. There is, these smaller pens in the dock, and you've got a lot of Kexith.
Got to get rid of the barnacles.
Right. But they're scrubbing them with these real coarse brooms. There's one Kexith who's walking around, and he has like a spear, and you see him pry something in between the segments of armor and pop it out.
Wow.
Keeps moving. You see him whack something.
So cool.
It is busy. There's pink and white tarps over some goods. You see wagons coming and getting loaded.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of Bodice.
Yeah, it is 9:05. Maybe we can end off here and pick up next time. Continue to explore this alien city.
Yeah, I think it's
very,
good.
very cool.
So you figure it's got to be mid-morning. Well, no.
Yeah, I was kind of like, what time is it back on Karandrin? What time is it here?
Right. I mean, you're figuring it's several hours have been spent just to walk and to talk.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be late morning, maybe noon, back home.
Okay.
So we will be back next Wednesday.
Yeah.
We will And we will continue the exploration of these to the extent that Brise feels she has time to do that. Thanks for joining us. As always, we really enjoyed it. If you think we're doing a good job, then hop the donor box and send us some love. I really recommend you go check out Max's YouTube channel, where he discusses the role of music and original soundtracks in video games. Thanks as always to Elliot Dunovitz for their terrific character art for Brise that we use almost every stream. And I've written a novel called A Shore Too Far. You can find it on Amazon, and I hope you enjoy it as well. So, Max, say goodbye to these lovely people.
Man, I hope you all like this episode. This was a really fun one for me, just seeing all the crazy stuff Kevin could come up with on the fly. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and can't wait to see what happens next week. See you on the 24th.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks for everything.